with brilliant job-creating investments from Momentum and others.
I think it's unbreakable, but this is very big.
Carney got caught again. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got bombshell news here. Carney got caught. Also, Francois Philippe Champagne also caught lying to Canadians. The Bloc leader went down to America, down to Washington, and found out really what's going on in the negotiation between Donald Trump and Mark Carney. Carney is not negotiating a deal. He's not even trying to negotiate a deal. And in fact, he's been pissing off the Americans. And not only that, Donald Trump has just signed a second deal today with the United Kingdom. Let's jump into this.
An entrepreneurial spirit combined with British ideas and ingenuity. The UK is one of the world's largest economies. Maybe not quite on the scale of the United States, I concede, but my word, we punch above our weight. Look at the economic prosperity deal that we struck back in May. It was the first trade deal that the president made. And yes, it was the best deal as well. We have the lowest tariffs in the world in vital sectors, and that is some achievement. It was a tough negotiation, but we did it for a reason, because it's a win for both sides, and because we knew that by working together, we could deliver more for working people. In a moment, the President and I will sign our groundbreaking new technology partnership, the Tech Prosperity Deal. It's a blueprint to win this new era together, shape it according to our shared values, and seize the incredible opportunities. We have huge new investments from NVIDIA, Nscale, OpenAI, Google, Salesforce, and many more, backing cutting-edge British jobs for years to come. And of course, tech needs energy. So to fuel this revolution, we've struck a new deal on civil nuclear power. We discussed this, Mr. President, last time we were together, and the opportunities we had. Generating energy for millions of homes and businesses, driving down bills on both sides of the Atlantic, and driving up energy security. So I want to thank everybody here for supporting this too, with brilliant job-creating investments from Momentum and others, including building up to 12 advanced nuclear reactors in the Northeast.
You mentioned NVIDIA. NVIDIA's market cap is bigger than Canada as a country, as in one American company is bigger than all of Canada.
So this is a great day for the special relationship.
I think it's unbreakable, but this is very big. And I want to thank all of the incredibly talented business leaders, the best in the world, biggest in the world, here this afternoon for investing in the Anglo-American Alliance. And you personify an important part of the unique national bond and really a world bond. What you've done is incredible.
This deal's got a bunch of stuff going back and forth between quantum AI and ending UK's dependence on Russian energy, which is why you've got the nuclear energy announced here. So as it says, Starmer banks on $150 billion investment to placate critics of Trump's state visit. Of this, 7,600 high-quality jobs in sectors including clean energy and life sciences. 7,600 new jobs for the UK. Is Mark Carney bringing in deals like this? Haven't seen one. Where are they?
Now we're getting it done. Generating more than $50 billion in economic value, creating up to 2,500 jobs, and powering 1.5 million homes. That's a lot of homes. Leading China and the world by a lot in AI, a lot. And we're creating tremendous amounts of energy and letting you create your own electricity in many, many cases. And we're giving you very rapid approvals. We're getting them approvals like they've never seen before. They used to wait 15 and 20 years to be rejected. Now they wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks to be accepted. That's a pretty big difference. But they want to be there. But with this agreement, our cherished friendship with the United Kingdom is getting stronger and stronger. And again, I want to thank the Prime Minister. He worked very hard on this and getting this deal done.
Why isn't Mark Carney getting a deal done? Why can they do 2 deals and we can get no deals? And we know that Mark Carney isn't trying to get a deal because Yves Francois Blanchet told us so.
Yeah, no doubt, Colton. I mean, the lines are clearly drawn on what Pierre Poilievre is going to be saying and what the Prime Minister is going to be defending. But something interesting that stood out, and I want your take on that, Colton. The Prime Minister said today, while replying to one of the questions from Pierre Poilievre, that he is in regular touch with President Trump, so much so that they are in touch on text messages.
Yeah, this was interesting because we don't always see readouts of conversations from the Prime Minister's office when it comes to conversations he's had with the U.S. president and with other world leaders as well. But certainly I think most Canadians are specifically interested in those conversations with the U.S. president. But it also is interesting in the question that he's responding to. It was from Yves-François Blanchet, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, who was just in Washington. And one of the things that he mentioned in a press conference prior to the House of Commons parliamentary session was that he had heard throughout Washington a disappointment from varying levels of government, including, he name-dropped the U.S. Trade Representative, a disappointment that they hadn't seen Mr. Carney personally in Washington more frequently. And so
it's right there. Blanchett goes to Washington. He hears from the Trump administration that Carney isn't showing up. Carney isn't even trying to get a deal.
Sides of a very interesting question here. One, perhaps some American disappointment, but also the Prime Minister saying that those lines of communication are open. And he also, a note at the end of that question, he also then highlighted to say it is more important to build Canada. And so you can see where the Prime Minister's priorities are. There are, I think, questions to be asked as to whether or not that is perhaps negatively impacting.
There's no questions there. We know it's negatively impacting Canada. Mark Carney is actively destroying our country.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that I went to Washington not to talk against the Canadian government, but to contribute to establishing favorable conditions with respect to trade and tariffs. And yesterday, when I asked the Prime Minister a serious question, he responded that the relationship was going really well with Mr. Trump, and the proof is that they were sending each other text messages on their cell phones. I would like to know who on that side of the House can explain this. Our trade relationship obviously focused on strategic sectors, steel, aluminum, cars, and softwood lumber. And at the same time, we're preparing for the overhaul of the trade deal between our three countries.
The only thing they're doing is preparing for another election. They're not going to get a deal. Canadians got tricked.
What I heard in Washington, Mr. Speaker, was that people were disappointed in the absence of the Prime Minister, even though the ministers visited, and people think that there's a lack of respect in the government's attitude that says this privileged relationship is finished with the U.S. So I asked the Prime Minister to correct this yesterday. Is the government not concerned that the United States legitimately, before a negotiation, be concerned with the attitude from the Canadian government? The Honourable Minister agree with the leader of the bloc in terms of the fact that the U.S. will always remain our main neighbor and an essential economic partner.
So they admit it. America is an essential economic partner, yet Mark Carney not getting a deal. Going down to Mexico, he'll go to Brazil, he'll go to everywhere else except dealing with Donald Trump.
The president has said that our trade relationship is changing. We have to work to determine what the best way to protect Canadians is.
This is rich. They're not protecting Canadians. They're destroying our country.
I'd like to remind the minister and the government that 80% of our exports, and that's not going to change, go to the biggest economy in the world and the largest military power. Whether we agree with that government's philosophy, we have to treat them with respect. And the Prime Minister will go to Mexico soon, to Malaysia, South Korea, and maybe even to Brazil. And during all this, will he speak to the U.S. President or go to Washington?
You got the bloc leader scolding Mark Carney here for awful treatment of the Americans, the American government, and by their own admission, an essential trading partner.
Obviously, we have to treat our relationship and conversations with our American counterparts with great respect, like we treat Americans with respect. They are the biggest economy in the world. Right now, we are facing the best circumstances in all of, in terms of the other trading partners. But we also said we have to diversify our trade and go to other markets and partners. And the good news, we can do both at the same time.
They think we're going to diversify off of 80% of a trading partner to other markets with the snap of our fingers. Yeah, right. We've got someone in the comments here posting this. Most Canadians don't have a clear idea of the level of economic dependence on the U.S. besides trading. Just in the past 5 years, Canadian investments in the U.S., including retirement funds, grew 1.5 trillion. That's about $300 billion a year. Quebec retirement system alone has $200 billion invested in the U.S. The Liberal supporters can say elbows up all they want, but proof is in the pudding here. And you can see that there, 42% or 197 billion total U.S., including private alternatives. That's for Quebec. Get Alberta with 45 to 50%, British Columbia 40 to 45%, Manitoba 40 to 45%. Across the board here, you just see it. And looking at the numbers, you can see total approximate Canadian mid-2025 numbers, 300 billion combined. Ontario, Quebec, almost 500 billion. Alberta, 180 billion. British Columbia, 250 billion. Manitoba, 20 billion. Saskatchewan, 5 billion. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Atlantic provinces, 10 to 20 billion, and national multi-provincial 731 billion. The Liberals can say whatever they want. We are tied in with America. The numbers don't lie. But Mark Carney, he does lie, and Blanchette called him out on it. Carney got caught lying by the Bloc leader. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing for Canada. Liberal supporters must be mortified knowing that they got lied to. Carney's not serving Canada's best interest. He's serving his own best interest. We got Francois-Philippe Champagne also getting asked about this. CBC Watcher dropping all these clips. Are the Liberals deliberately tanking trade negotiations for self-preservation over the good of Canada? Yes, they are.
I think there's a difference, Minister. If the ambassador is talking about we want a big deal, you've got Minister LeBlanc and the Prime Minister saying, look, the best we can hope for is smaller sectoral deals. Why do you think there's that difference?
Well, I think what the Prime Minister has been talking about is an economic and security partnership, which in my view encompasses the essence of our relationship, first on the economic front, but also on the security front. And we've been, at least you've seen the Prime Minister, we've been engaging very actively with the U.S. administration since the beginning.
But you haven't, and you just got caught out on it. You haven't been engaging. This guy's king of the word salad. But here he is, just like Carney, getting caught out on another lie.
And you know, Canada has always been, I would say, proactive, forthcoming, positive in how we engage.
That is not the case. Blanchette came back and said the Americans are upset with how Carney's team is treating them. They're not engaging. They're not trying to get a deal. These guys rattling out the lies one after the other.
We have the best deal on earth right now when it comes to exporting. Now we know.
They're trying to take credit for a deal they didn't negotiate that was already in place again.
If we have the best deal, then why do we have the worst economy in the G7? Mr. Speaker, deadline after deadline has come and gone, and this government's promised trade deal is nowhere to be found. After failing at the negotiating table in Washington, this Prime Minister is now off to Mexico City, desperate to claim any kind of win. Compare that to our Mexican counterparts, who successfully negotiated a deal, sending their exports to the U.S. up 1.4% last quarter, while ours fell 18%. Mr. Speaker, again, what has Mexico done so right that this Prime Minister has done so wrong?
Yeah! Carney doesn't want to get a deal. He needs Donald Trump to be the boogeyman. Been saying it all along. He's going to keep this going on. He's probably going to call an election sooner than we think. Now, is it going to be next week or next month? No, but maybe by early next year sometime. He's going to wait for the absolute best opportunity. I don't know if he's going to wait for the NDP to get a leader in place. They're doing their race, getting a leader installed next year. I don't think Carney cares because it's all about the Mark Carney show. So he'll do it whenever it's best for him.
To respond, you know, when you have your largest trading partner which imposed tariff on our steel industry, on our auto sector, obviously, you know, you would expect a country like Canada, G7 country, to respond to that.
So he's just going to go on to word salad here, but they got caught again. Now, what will Liberal supporters do? Will they continue to back these guys who are not serving their best interest? That is the question now. Jumping back to Trump's press conference here with Keir Starmer, they take questions, and somebody asked Starmer about the chips and hummus crowd.
Thank you. For Prime Minister Starmer, if you feel so strongly about officially recognizing Palestine for statehood, why are you waiting for President Trump to leave the country? Why can't you just do it right now? And isn't there a risk in rewarding Hamas with that?
Well, let me be really clear about Hamas. They're a terrorist organisation who can have no part in any future governance in Palestine. And what happened on October the 7th was the worst attack since the Holocaust. We have extended family in Israel. I understand firsthand the psychological impact that had across Israel. So I know exactly where I stand in relation to Hamas. Hamas, of course, don't want two-state solution. They don't want peace. They don't want a ceasefire. So I'm very clear where I stand on Hamas. Okay. On the question of recognition, I made my position clear at the end of July as to the timing, which has got nothing to do with this state visit. And I've discussed it with the President, as you would expect amongst two leaders who respect each other and like each other and want to bring about a better solution in the best way that we can. Thank you.
Yeah, he kind of weaseled around that one, didn't he? We know who's running the show over there. Mark Carney running away from Pierre Poilievre, heading over to Mexico, trying to strike a deal. And what do we have here? Canada, Mexico signed strategic partnership. And as Table Salt points out, strategic partnership, for those who are unaware, is corporate comms for absolutely nothing.
What you expect that Mr. Carney will be coming back with from Mexico and how that could or may not help the North American Free Trade Agreement renegotiations, or CUSMA, I should say, when you consider that at the beginning of this process, it seemed like we were not going to be trying to really side with Mexico. Do you think that this will help? And could Canada and Mexico maybe team up and try and get a better deal out of the U.S.?
At the very beginning of the whole process, when Mr. Trudeau said that we could drop Mexico in the deal, it was very bad for our businesses, but it was very bad as a message. He should, and Mr. Carney should instead try to add allies to an amount so important that the market it represents is more important than the American market, and that the GDP it produces is more important than the American GDP. All those persons and countries together facing the United States would have got a much better leverage. This is not what happened. And I suppose that Mrs. Scheinbaum did not like it so much. So there might have been a cold moment. If the relationship is improved, that's good. If there are significant intentions, might be good, but I will wait for it to come with means and projects, clear projects and means in order to achieve it. We must keep in mind, however, that our relationship with Mexico is the fifth in importance in matters of trade. 80% of what Canada exports is to United States. It will let you calculate approximately the importance of the Mexican market for Canada.
Canada's trade with Mexico is $56 billion, or 5%. So which relationship is more important?
Let's improve that. But in no way could we compare the Mexican market for Canada and the American market for Canada.
Now, I think we should be trading more with Mexico. Why not? But when it comes down to it, we need a good deal with America. But Carney's not going to do that. He needs Donald Trump for his next election.